Be the person that when something comes that you could dwell on and be offended by it, be the kind of person like roll off your back. Yeah, I'm not even thinking about it. No, I'm not gonna think that way. When you put on the nature of God, it never goes out of style. You know what God's nature is? It's love. What's the fruit? What's the outward of love? You know it, right? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, meekness, self-control. Against such there is no law. In other words, these things never go out of style. Hey, everybody, gentleness is never out of style. Kindness is never out of style. Patience is never out. You might feel like you are overweight or not really in your best health right now, but I want to tell you, you put God's stuff on, it will make you more attractive. It will bring a beauty out in you. You start to put on the nature of God. It'll change the dynamic in your relationships. It'll change the atmosphere at work. It'll draw people to you. I'm not saying everything's a bowl of cherries, but can I tell you something? When we, as followers of Christ, make a conscious decision, we're like, God, help me to put off my old ways of thinking, my old ways of responding, my old ways of acting. Help me to put on today the nature of God, because created to be like God. That's what we're called to. And I want to help you today by giving you 4 ways that you can put on the nature of God. Things we can take off, things that we can put on, right? There's some things in our life that you might say, hey, take it off. And number 1 is I want to put off always trying to be right and put on making things right. I think a lot of times, I think I'm this way. I'm too concerned about letting people know that I'm right. How many are like me and you just feel like you're usually right? Yeah, I'm right a lot, But I think sometimes I can get overly concerned. I think, it's just our nature, right? The not good nature part of us, we want to let people know that we were right. Let them know, hey, there was a study done recently with married couples, and 9 out of 10 husbands agreed that their wife was always right. Yeah, and you're thinking, what's up with that? Well, the 10th husband has not been seen since the survey. No one knows where he is. I heard one person say that you can be right or you can be happy, but sometimes you can't have both. And you think about it, sometimes we're driving to say we're right because maybe we're insecure or we're really into the truth. And I'm not saying the truth is not important, but later in the same chapter, the apostle writes and he says, let truth be in the context of love. What is love? Love thinks about the best for the other person. So it's not like I'm going to blow them away with truth. It's like this needs to help. This needs to be in the right context. Dallas Willard, right, great theologian, said this. He said, one of the hardest things in the world is to be right and not hurt other people with it. Yeah, I like that quote. One of the hardest things in the world is to be right and not. So if I want to put something off, I need to put off always trying to be right, win the argument, win whatever, and be more focused on making things right. Find unity. Find peace. That's number 1. We're going to put off that. We're going to put on the nature of God. Number 2, put off indifference and put on responsiveness. Put off indifference. What do I mean by that? John Gottman, one of the great marriage researchers, studied marriage for decades. This guy, it's amazing the studies he's done. And he puts marriages, he says basically there's 2 classes. 2 classes. He says there's the masters and then the disasters. And so you can think about which bucket you're in. I'm not asking you to raise your hand. I think we're probably all a little bit of both, depending on the day you catch us, right? He says there's the masters of marriage, then there's the disasters. And this is what Gottman said. He says one of the most important factors of the masters is that they always show responsiveness to small bids of attention. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're at a family gathering, and let's say, grandpa loves birds. He's into birds. He reads about birds. He bird watches. He's really like, wow, look at all these birds. And maybe you're sitting down. He's over at the window and he's like, oh man, look at this bird out here. This is a really neat bird. And you're thinking, I don't care. You're thinking, I don't care about birds. I don't look at birds like him. I don't study birds. There's too many birds. Birds mess my cars up, But he says this is what the master's class does. The master walks over to the window and says, oh, yeah, which one? Tell me about that bird. right? And he leans into that person's small bid for attention instead of just an attitude of indifference. Listen, that's one of the most important factors in the master's class of marriage. I think I can learn from that, right? What does that look like in your life? What does it look like in my life? Well, it might be like this. Sometimes Jen and I are, sitting on the couch and, maybe she's got her phone, I'm looking at something else or watching TV, and she'll get a text or see something, go, oh man, oh wow. Well, there's my moment, right? There, I can lean into that. I might not want to. I might be like, I don't care what that is. I'm really into my, but he says the masters, they lean into that bid for attention. So, what's happening? And Jen can say, well, this is something I'm facing, or I got to help this person, or I got this problem I'm dealing with. And, she wants me to to hear that. But see, here's where I got to be careful. And guys, all of us got to be careful right here. Because by nature, men, you know what we are? We're fixers, right? We see a problem, we want to fix it. Not only am I a guy, not only am I a fixer, I'm a Bible teacher. You see me do this once a week, hey, here's the topic, here's 3 ways. I'm like that all the time. So Jen can bring me a problem. I'm like, Jen, let me tell you 3 things to do to solve that problem. I'm like, man, I got this. I'm helping her. Man, she really needs my help. Let me tell you, point number 1, I'm just really helping her, And here's what I found out. She doesn't always want me to teach her. She doesn't always want me to fix it for her. In fact, sometimes she'll say, now, Mark, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to feel it. I'll be like, okay, go ahead. And she'll say it. I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling it. It's like, okay, I'm with you. I'm not going to say anything about it. I know what I do. I know how to fix it, but I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to feel it. Oh, man, I feel that. I do it a little bit better than that, but anyway, right? And so sometimes we have to learn how to lean into each other's bid for attention, because that's kind of a big deal. I want to put off indifference, like, I don't care about that stuff or your thing. I want to put on responsiveness. That's what successful marriages have. So number 3, let's just move on. I'm going to give you 4 today, all right? Number 3, what I need to put off and what I need to put on, and that is simply this: listen instead of talk. Listen instead of talk, especially if there's a conflict. Sometimes there is. It's really important that we listen first instead of talk. So a lot of people that are in leadership have read a book that's kind of a classic. Many years ago, I read it. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Covey. And so I read that book and I learned a lot of all 7 habits are great. I'm like, oh man, this book is, it's like, wow, great leadership. But there's one of those 7 that once I read it, I never forgot it. Some of the others I need to go back and read. But this one, when I read it, I'm like, it's so like I got it. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's the best way to say that, and that really helps me. And here's the principle. He said, seek first to understand, then be understood. That's good, isn't it? Seek first to understand, then be understood. That kind of flies in the face of what I want. Kind of flies in the face of the norm, because what do we want to do? Especially if there's an argument, a disagreement or something like that, what do we want to do? I want to say what I think about it. I want to make my point, And a lot of times we're tempted just to get in there and say, well, I'm telling you, no, this is my thing. I want to tell you what I think about it. And if you come from a family where everybody's got to say their thing in there, and then there's going to be a lot of interrupting, because people are going to be like, no, you listen to me. No, you listen. And if you're in a family that's loud, it's going to get like a rock concert, because people are like, well, here's what I think. This guy's got to top you. Well, I think this, and this guy's got to be louder. And all of a sudden you're like, what is going on? Like somebody comes to the door, do not come in. It's like a hurricane in here. Why? Because everybody's trying to be heard instead of listening. One of the most powerful things we can do in relationships is to seek first to understand, then be understood. And it's a powerful way to show. Here's what it does. It will allow others to feel heard. It's the first thing it does. And that right there dissipates a lot of the negativity that they might already have. People can be really frustrated if they feel something. They need to get that out. Whether their feelings are right or wrong, they need to be able to say it. And so, one, it will allow them to feel heard. Secondly, it will give you a broader perspective of what's going on. And that's really important, Because sometimes I think what I know it's about, what I know, this is about this. And then when I hear it, I'm like, oh, it's not about what I thought, it's about something else. So I can respond better because now I'm listening better, right? I think that's a biblical principle because James said it like this. Hey, be quick to hear. How's it go, church? You know it. Be slow to speak and slow to anger. So what Covey's saying is just kind of in a different way, and it's a great way to show the kindness of God. So if I want to put on the new nature of God, I need to put off always trying to be right. Like, no, I've got to be right at all. And he's put that aside, okay? And I need to be more concerned about making things right, okay? I need to put off indifference. And I need to show responsiveness. I need to learn how to hold back my opinion right off the bat. And I need to learn to listen instead of talk. Here's the last thing we need to throw off, and it's a big one, something we all deal with. I need to learn how to throw off anger. Because anger can be a powerful ally or can be really destructive depending on how we deal with it. It's not a sin to be angry. But what we do with anger can become a sin. But I kind of like this story of how this one guy dealt with anger. I'll show you a picture of this kid named Rain. He was a sophomore in high school when this picture was taken. And they changed his bus route to where the bus, before it went to the school, it went back by his home again. He picked him up, but then it did a route, and then it went back by his. Well, his parents thought, this is awesome. We can really help our son by standing in the front yard and waving at him. As the bus Rain will love it when he sees mom and dad again, right? Parents, how many think that's awesome? I think it's great. Yeah, I've done stuff like that before. But Rain didn't think it was a great idea. He was talking to his mom one night. He's like, Mom, do not stand in the front. You're embarrassing me. His dad was in the other room and he heard it. And his dad got really angry. He's like, he doesn't want us to say hi to him? He was really upset about that. He could feel the anger, but he rechanneled it and he did something different. So the next day, the bus comes by and his dad goes out in the front yard and he waves to his son as the Hulk. It's pretty awesome. It's like, that's a good way to deal with that. But you know what? He wasn't done, because he came back the next day and he waved at his son in a bathrobe. I just got out of the shower, I'm getting ready. Buddy, all you kids. He thought, no, I'm still not done. So another day, next day he comes out, Mr. T. Yeah, look at them gold chains. He's like, no, I'm still not done. Then the next day he comes out as Princess Leia from Star Wars. 170 straight days of school, a different outfit every day. I can't show them all to you in church. A different outfit every day. They made talk shows, and that's pretty awesome. You know why? Well, Rain and his friends actually ended up thinking it was pretty awesome. In fact, it became the thing, the fun thing, got everybody in a great mood before school. Everybody ran to that side of the bus when they passed Rain's house. What's he gonna do? Rain became popular. Turns out, and see, here's what that is an example of. We can't all be that dramatic, but channeling anger into something positive. That's what he did. He channeled his anger into something positive. It's a healthy way to deal with anger. Now, we've all done things that are not healthy with our anger, all of us, right? And when we use anger in the wrong way, what happens? It's hurtful. It's destructive. It's a really powerful emotion. So that's why he takes special verses and let's really be careful with this emotion. It's a God-given emotion. Let's watch what you do when it comes. So here's what Ephesians says about it. He says, so don't sin by letting anger control you. Notice he didn't say anger is a sin. When does anger become a sin? When it's controlling you. When anger's calling the shots, when I can't think of anything else, when I'm like, it's got me, right? I've been there, right? Well, but anger says, I can't, man, it's peaking, it's intense. He says, in fact, it's so powerful, don't let it last very long. Okay, he's not saying it's a sin to feel that emotion, but he says, when you do, there needs to be some self-control, and don't just let it go. Listen, I've messed this up. I've lost days before being upset about things. Have you? I've lost a day, or But this is better. Don't let the sun go down while you're still angry. I talked to one couple, I says, hey, do you guys go to bed angry? They said, no, we stay up and fight. So, and then here's the reason why he says take really special care with this emotion. Anger gives a foothold to the devil, right? I'm not a rock climber, but if you're scaling a rock, the whole deal is to find a new foothold, a new place you can launch to. Like, oh, I'm going higher, I'm going farther. You can't scale a rock if you can't find footholds. So what he's literally saying is the devil's looking for a launching place into your life. And this, uncontrolled, is something the enemy will use. One translation says it opens a door to the devil. I don't know about you, but I want none of that, okay? I don't want to open a door to the enemy in my life because he brings all kinds of mess. The enemy uses anger, he uses bitterness. And so when I'm in that place where I don't have self-control and anger is getting the best of me, and it's like, man, it's hard, it's hot, I can't think of anything else, I'm open to the enemy. And guess what the enemy does when he's right there? He lies to me. Did he lie to you? Thoughts come in. All the worst things about all my relationships come in. All the worst things about me, sometimes prideful about me. Jesus said this. He said, the devil, he's a liar. It went farther. He says, actually, he's the father of lies. Like he invented lying. So I have to be careful when the emotion of anger comes. It's not a sin to be angry, but if it starts controlling me, I start listening to lies. And the enemy comes in, and what his goal is to create what Scripture calls a root of bitterness. Because when a root of bitterness gets down in there, contempt and bitterness, then it starts to act like poison in that relationship and in all others. And so we looked at verse 29, and he's like, here, you want to be careful with this. In verse 29, he says, so don't go berserk. Don't use foul or abusive language. And let everything you say be good and helpful so that your words will be an encouragement to those. This takes some self-control. This is hard. You need to ask God to help you with this. I ask God to help me with this. Lord, help my mouth right now. Simple prayer. Lord, help my mind and my mouth right now. Lord, help me to think a different thought. Help me to think a right thought. Because we shape our words, and then our words shape us. Language creates our world. Kindness in the home, kindness in a relationship, kindness in a friend. We shape our words, then our words shape our life. Think about it. The atmosphere of your home is shaped by the words that you speak. So if we can kind of get this thing going, Lord, help me to say things that are good today. Help me to say things that are helpful today. Help me to operate in self-control. In Proverbs, it says, a gentle answer turns away wrath. Help me to be gentle when I need to be gentle, and I want to be hard, but I need to be gentle. Help me. And so we need to pray this into our lives, and sometimes we just have to say, I'm putting off the old way, the old pattern of doing it, and I'm putting on the new way. Because anger is like a smoke alarm. Don't you hate that sound? This is in our homes to help us, right? But how many know when you hear that sound, it's wise not to be terrified? Like, what if every time you heard that, what if you just ran out and doused your home with water? What have we learned? You don't want to let the terror come into your mind and just because a lot of times it's something else. It's like, it's a dead battery, or, it's somebody cooking dinner, and maybe it goes off all the time. I don't know. It's like, a lot of times it's not that. What is this? It's just a signal to let me know, I need to go look around. What if we treated anger like a smoke alarm? And when we felt that rise up in us, it was a signal. We're tempted to react. But what if we stepped back and looked around? Just like if you heard this in the night, and if you have an upstairs bedroom, and you hear that, you don't run down, call the fire department, get them there, douse the whole house in water. What do? You walk downstairs, you look around, you see, where's that coming from? Is that a battery? Did somebody leave something on? Is the stove on? You're going to check it out. What if we treated anger like this alarm? And when we feel that signal, what if I said, okay, where is that coming from right now? Because now the psychologists tell us that anger is a secondary emotion. In other words, there's usually something else driving it. And here, this is called the anger iceberg. The anger iceberg. And what you see with anger is just barely the tip of the iceberg, but like all icebergs, there's a lot more going on underneath. In other words, I might get angry because I feel disrespected. I might get angry because I feel frustrated or embarrassed. I might feel jealous or insecure. I might be disappointed. I might feel overwhelmed. And men and women respond differently to some of these. Some of these things a woman would cry, and some of these things a man would get angry. But we all feel that beep sometimes, and it's wise not to just douse everything. Hey, I'm just going to react, but to step back and to think, okay, why is this happening? Learn to deal with your anger. Don't allow bitterness to build up. Don't give the devil a place. Don't allow being offended about something to come in and take a root. It's best to think through and ask God to help you in this area. I mean, we need the help of the power of the Spirit of God. But can I tell you, when you pray that prayer, He will help you. I think a long time ago, I can see that I had a bigger problem with this. And we all have anger, come up. But I've grown in this area. You say, well, Pastor, do pastors have to deal with anger? Mark, all you do is get up and preach on Sunday, right? Yeah, so, does pastors, do you get tempted? Do you get tempted to be offended? Absolutely, just like you. In fact, I can tell you one. Anybody want to hear one? You want to hear a pastor story, right? Last Saturday night, something happened that made me angry. It was right after church. And I had to go, oh, Lord, help me right now. I need help. I'm feeling the smoke alarm right now. I'm feeling the beep. And so what it was this. Before service, we're missing one car. Car's in the shop, so I was dropped off here for church. And I normally eat before church on Saturday night because it really is important for my Sunday that I eat early on Saturday. And then, so I forgot to eat because somebody dropped me off. When I got here before church, I told Jen, I forgot to eat. I can't stay after church. I got to get home immediately. We got to, when church is done, I got to leave. I got to go eat, or, it will kind of mess me up for Sunday. And she's like, yeah, okay. So church is done, and I go backstage. Instead of exit greeting, I go backstage like, I got to go eat. And then I texted Jen. I go, I'm ready to leave right now. She says, I'll be back soon. And I thought it meant she was out, hanging out with people in the lobby. And then I figured out that she wasn't on the property anywhere. She had left. And I'm like, she left? What are you doing? I'm like, I need to leave now. She's like, I'll be back soon. I'm like, I need to eat 15 minutes ago. And she's like, I'll be back soon. I looked at my Life app. She's like, I'm coming. And I saw her dot on the Life app going the opposite direction. I'm like, no, you're not. You're going the other way. I can see it. And now I'm getting angry because now I don't like, wait a minute, I already told you about this. And now how many know you can be angry or you can be hungry? But come on, put those two together. What is it? You're hangry now. I'm hangry. I'm going, what in the world? I have to eat right now. I said, we need to eat. And she's like, I'm coming. I'm like, no, you're not. I just preached on relationships. Why does this happen every time, Lord? I got to tell you, you go into a relationship series, look out, you better pray over your marriage, okay? And I'm like, I just preached. Okay, find my fulfillment of God. I'm going to, okay, Lord, help me today. I'm feeling it. What's going on? What's going on? I'm like, I need to eat. I'm hungry. I'm hangry. I said, what do I do? Lord, provide a way. Steve Spencer, our sound man, walked backstage to do some cables. I go, Steve. He goes, yeah. Take me home. Like a puzzled look on it. I need you to take me home. My home. I need you to take me out. Mom. It's like, oh, okay. So Steve's known me a long time. He's like, he probably said, I don't have to ask, I'll just go. And so Steve drops me home. I had food there. I started eating. And then I just wondered, what in the world happened? And then, so when Jen got home, we had a discussion about it. But I'm happy to tell you, it was very short. Because what I've learned is, on the way home, I was like, you know what? She didn't mean it. She didn't know. She didn't mean it. She probably forgot. Da da da. I said, hey, what? You never leave church right when it's over. But on this one time that I said I really needed to, you left without me. I felt stranded. And she's like, oh man, I forgot you didn't have a car. Okay. What are you gonna do with that? Because guess what? I forgot a lot of things too, right? So I'm like, oh, you forgot? She's like, yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry too. Guess what? We had a great night. Could have messed me up. Could have been like, oh, I'm really mad. But you know what? I ate. I was better. I was like, she didn't mean it. And you know what? One of the number one things they say, there was a study done of like the longest marriages ever. Okay, how many married people in the room? Raise your hand if you're married. How many married people? Okay, good, wonderful. Okay, this impacted me. In one of the studies done, the longest marriages ever, one of the top factors, believe your spouse's intentions. Believe the best about your spouse's intentions all the time, no matter what. Believe the best. Believe the best. So really, I'm riding home with Steve going, there was a reason, there was a reason, there was a reason. And when I got there, she said, here's what happened. The car place called me, and they said, your car's ready, but we're closing, and if you want it, you got to get here now. And so she got my son, went to get the car, so it was like, oh, okay, it was all that. But how many know sometimes misunderstandings, confusion, get things messed up? And so what we want to do is we want to say, Lord, please help me to be kind, right? Say it with me today. Everybody, Lord, please help me to be kind. Help my mind, help my mouth. David said, put a guard over my lips. And some of y'all, man, you need to pray that prayer like every hour. Lord, put a guard over my lips. Sometimes I got to pray it every hour. Lord, help me to say things that are helpful, that build people up. And you know what? You're gonna walk in a new level. You're gonna walk in a new level of the love of God. You won't be as easily offended. You be slow to be angry. You be quick to hear. You'll be the person that's got the right word, the encouraging word, even in a tense situation, because now you've developed. It's not overnight, and I still mess up, okay? It's not overnight, but you develop, you have more self-control, you have more patience. Now what am I doing? I'm beginning to lean into that scripture. Now, Lord, thank you. Help me to imitate you. What would you do in this situation? Help me to be imitators of God. There's always opportunities to be offended. Jesus said there's going to be opportunities all your life. But listen, don't allow an offense to get deep down. Be the kind of person, develop. This is a skill. This is an art. This is something you can pray into your life. Be the person that when something comes that you could dwell on and be offended by it, be the kind of person like roll off your back. Yeah, I'm not even going to think about it. No, I'm not going to think that way. I'm not going to think that way about her. I'm not going to think that way about that person. I'm not going to think that way about that person. And because isn't one of the characteristics of love in 1 Corinthians 13, love believes the best. Amen? And so we want to learn to grow in that. And I want to tell you, your relationships will have a greater atmosphere of the kindness and the peace of God. And all God's people said, amen and amen.
We're so excited that you joined us from TV Land, but we'd love to invite you to actually come to a service here at the church. We have a Saturday night and 2 on Sundays. It's a very laid-back environment. You'll love it. We hope to see you here.